All right, everybody, welcome back. We are live, coming to you live from the studios at WLCB Radio 101.5 FM, WLCB, Slade's Corner, Wisconsin. My name is Bill Miksch. For the next hour, myself and the effervescent, ever-knowing, ever-soothsaying Sean Hauser will be joining us in just a second. And we are going to educate you. We're going to make you think. We're going to make you laugh. And we're going to make you kind of digest a couple things that really you need to be thinking about. I don't really care if you're 37, 57, 67. The older you are, that's kind of a little bit more important, but it's something that you really want to pay attention to, because if you make it to retirement, you're going to have to think about how you're going to unbundle everything. We had I'm going to bring Sean in here in a second, so I'll let him do the dog and pony on the telethon that we did, the radiothon that we did. So without further ado, the man, the legend, the way of life, the man searching for hair at any moment in time, coming to you from the bowels somewhere near Dayton, Ohio, in the bunker, Sean Hauser.
Wow, for somebody who's introducing the director of the radio station, you're taking some risks there, pal.
Yes, as I speak to you with a full head of hair myself, thank you very much. So.
Sure. You can buy one too for $29.95 complete.
That's exactly right. I will share
made in China, and then it's $74 now.
I'll share a quick story with you. My dad was as bald as a billiard by the time he was 30 years old, and he would tease me because of genetics. He's like, "You're going to lose your hair by the time you're 50 or 55." I'm like, "Dad, I don't think so. I understand genetics well enough that mom is the genetic code for hair." And everybody on her side of the family has hair from now until kingdom come. So I don't think, short of a medical malady, that I'm going to lose my hair. Notwithstanding that I've got 4 kids, and at any moment in time, I could have been pulling my hair out. Notwithstanding that I coached for almost 20 years and having a multiple of children from the ages of 8 until 14 or 15, that could have caused me to pull out my hair. My head is full and a little gray. Let's call it salt and pepper, but it is what it is. And
if you wanted me to give an update on the radiothon for the weekend, as we talked last week on our show, the producers of WLCB got together this weekend to play for 48 hours live, from Friday at 9 a.m. till Sunday at 9 a.m. And the crew of Your Insurance Corner was very active in the weekend's activities. Billy D, Engaging Time, or Bill Miksch, as you may know him. He's got like 4 identities. Came on several shows, played his guitar, sang some songs. And then he joined the Rock Fossil, otherwise known as me, and my wife, K2, in our show on Saturday night at 8 o'clock. Played the guitar a little bit more and stayed with us until the claws of sleep called him home. But overall, it was very successful. We were able to raise over $1,000. And for our radio station, that's awesome. So if any of our listeners here tonight were listening over the weekend, thank you. And if you made a donation, thank you again. We really appreciate your support.
And I know, Sean, I've got a couple of clients, as I told you the other day, that are sending money, and I know there's more coming. So with a little luck, we might get to 2,000 or maybe even 2,500, depending on what they're sending us. So we'll see.
That would be nice.
Yep.
That would be great.
So every penny helps, folks. This is a non-for-profit radio station. All of the producers, all of the talent, all of the behind the scenes here, everybody works for free because we like what we do. Some of the talent is incredibly gifted insofar as their radio prowess is concerned. I've only been doing this for 4.5, 5 years, and thanks to Sean and to Chris Zeman, they've given me the privilege to stand behind this mic for almost coming up on 5 years now, Sean. So for the record, we have Your Insurance Corner has over 470 podcasts up on Spotify. So if you missed the show and you want a particular show that you want to listen to, healthcare, long-term care, Medicare, retirement, estate planning, etc., you can easily find it on Spotify. Just go to podcast and look up Your Insurance Corner, put it on your favorites, and when you're bored to tears and you need 15 minutes to put yourself to sleep, there you go. I have to tell you, Sean, that I don't remember who I saw. Oh, I was we had another death in the family. This is the fourth one since the end of January, and it's been a tough couple of months. But we were at a gathering the day before the service, and one of the extended family members, who I think his name is Brett, hopefully I'm not screwing that up, he and I shook hands, and I said, I'm so sorry for Casey's loss, and Casey, my wife's aunt, and he says to me almost out the gate, Sean, you have a radio voice.
Funny, I have a radio show.
Yeah, and I'm like, I hear that I don't know what that means. Somewhere in the bowels of the radio blogosphere, somebody has to explain to me what that means, because this is my voice, folks. It is what it is. So I'm happy. Think it's good. I'll try my Barry White voice on you later if you want me to. It's all good. I won't go Louis Armstrong on you, although I could, but it'll destroy my throat. But thank you for that compliment. But yeah, it's been a good run, folks, and hopefully we keep this thing going. We get more listeners, we get a little bit more capital underneath us, and we can expand our footprint a little bit more. But if you can't listen to us because you're not near the tower, listen to us on www.lakesradio.org. Go to How to Listen, or you can tell Alexa. What do you tell Alexa, Sean?
Alexa, play WLCB.
Yeah, and if you've got Alexa, we're sorry.
We just set her off.
Full disclosure, that's our disclaimer for the night. So, a couple quick things. Baseball is in full bloom. The Cubs, no surprise in April, are in first place. As I told my son yesterday, wait till August or September. And I noticed that the Reds are kind of hanging by the bottom, but they've got a pretty good team, Sean. So it's just April, so it's early.
Yeah, they kind of do that. I mean, it's only been a few seasons that I can remember, such as the '90 Reds, that just came out and just gangbusters and led it the entire way. So
yeah, that was back in
together.
Johnny Bench and Joe Morgan, Pete Rose.
The Big Red Machine, sure.
Yeah. Who was a Perez? I can't think of the guy's first name.
Tony Perez.
Tony Perez, yeah. Those are the ones that come to my mind immediately in terms of the players. By the way, Sean, got to meet Johnny Bench a couple years ago when he did the Dreamers thing out in Iowa. And
wow.
He comes home and he said, Dad, I got to meet Alex Rodriguez, and I got to meet I'm drawing a blank here, the guy from Boston, and a handful of other players. And then he says to me, who's Johnny Bench? And I look at him
who's Johnny Bench?
Who's Johnny Bench?
Well, you failed as a parent in raising that boy.
Yeah, I looked at him like, you're a sports guy. How do you not know Johnny Bench? He was one of the best catchers ever in baseball, and he was with the Reds forever. He didn't move like they move around now, like it's noodles in a pot in a hot bucket of water. Those guys stayed with their clubs forever, so it was just kind of funny that he didn't know who he was. And then college baseball or college basketball is over. Because we were watching the Cubs game last night, I didn't get a chance to watch Florida and Houston. Maybe there'll be a replay, but I guess it was an epic game.
It came down to final minutes. Yeah, we turned it on with about 7 minutes to go, and they went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and then Houston's bringing the ball up court, and I can't think of the player now, stopped his dribble. He kind of like bounced the ball on the ground, and then he couldn't touch it again, and everybody else was kind of, moving for position and trying to get in there, and they didn't realize until it was too late that their man is stuck, because if he picks up that ball, then it goes back to Florida, and nobody could get there in time before Florida got it. So.
I did see the ESPN replay, and I did see that, and I'm like, oh, my God, he's got to live with that dribble for the rest of his life.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of like Chris, what's-his-name, with Michigan, when he threw the ball
Chris Webber.
Yeah, Chris Webber, he threw it out of bounds or threw it to the wrong player? I think he threw it to the wrong player.
Right.
So anyway, so that's over, and we're into baseball, and God only knows what else. So we're going to move on with our program tonight. And tonight, folks, this is an epic program. Unless you just crawled out from under a rock in the last 12 hours, we have been experiencing, in my opinion, what is a crash of the marketplace. And there was a lot of us, including yours truly, who has been calling for a crash because I felt the stock market was way overvalued, and lots of talking heads on TV would agree with me. Some wouldn't, but most did. But I didn't know what the trigger was going to be. I thought it would be something overseas or some insanity that would take place. Well, the insanity is actually taking place here in the United States. Like him, don't like him, Trump, for 4 decades, since 1987, 1988, he's been on this drumbeat, folks, about tariffs. This is not a new thing with him. Now, I'm not sure, Sean and I would probably agree that we're not terribly crazy about his antics. We may disagree on whether the tariffs are right or wrong, but the tariffs are the reason why the market has gone nuts. And the market has gone nuts because, as the talking heads and the C-suite guys would say, we don't have any clarity as to where things are going. And because of that, the entire stock market and all these companies have just lost 10, 15, 20, 30% of their value. Now, Sean, you're a more active trader than I am. Are you a fundamentals guy or a more a statistical trader when you're trading stocks and bonds?
I am probably a cross between the two, but I look at certain fundamentals, but I don't look at that and say, oh, well, this stock is above its 150-day moving average, and this one is, blah blah blah. I'm looking more at things like book value and revenue, expenses, efficiency ratios, things like that.
So you're actually getting into the weeds of their P&Ls and their balance sheets and that kind of thing, right?
Well, I usually rely on the analysts that cover the stocks and look for the more prominent ones, yes. But I think my North Star in any investment is still what Peter Lynch said back in the 80s or maybe even the 70s when he says, buy what you know and know what you buy.
Yep.
Because there is a lot of information and disinformation out there on the internet that says, this stock is going to go up tenfold, and if you think NVIDIA was great, this company is about to, double NVIDIA or whatever. And I think there's a lot of, used to be you went to Wall Street Journal. You could go to your local newspaper and at least see stock quotes.
Mm-hmm.
But if you really had to do any research, you used to have to go to things like Morningstar or, the news publications, Barron's and
Ibbotson would be another one.
Like that.
Yep. Standard & Poor's.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And if you had access to Bloomberg, that was kind of like the holy grail because they did a lot of analysis and packaging for you.
Yep.
But now any idiot with a podcast or a YouTube channel can come off and be a stock soothsayer And I know a lot of people that are like, oh, yeah, he was right on these stocks. He's going to be right on this. This looks great. And I'd rather have my money sitting in a company that I know, understand, and see their products rather than these story stocks or these, oh, they have a great app. I just never bought a stock on a great app story.
I told my kids the other day, I think Randy was asking, maybe Ryan, but for sure Randy, I said, when the markets are down, there are certain staples that are not going to go down because they're big and people need them. Toilet paper, cereal, milk, bread. Find out who those companies are. Like Kimberly Clark, I think, is toilet paper and Kleenex and that kind of stuff. They're not going away. They pay a nice dividend. They're a big behemoth company, and they're not going away. Their stock might take a hit, but they've got dividends, and they're not going to take as big of a hit as somebody like NVIDIA, who may end up being pulled by the tech train because everybody else just went down. McDonald's company, to your point, and I'll just echo that sentiment. What I heard about Peter Lynch was he would go into a Kmart or a Walmart and just observe what people were buying and what they were looking at. And then he would find out who the manufacturer was or who owned that product, and then he would go research the product. And say again, what was that phrase? Buy what you know what you buy? Yep. So that was the kind of the thing for me when I heard about Peter Lynch, and this was probably 35, 40 years ago when I heard about this. So, but I'm not a stock trader. Just full disclosure. Honestly, most of my wealth is in my company. So when I sell it, I can walk away. I hope, from my lips to God's ear. I will say, for those of you that my clients are listening, if I win the lottery tomorrow, you all get 90-day notice. Although truth is, I won't quit. I'll just cherry pick who I want to work with. Sean, you'll be one of them. Just so full disclosure, you'd be one of them.
Well, I'll take over and be the chief of staff for.
I'll have enough wealth to be able to pay you a decent buck too, and just make some cold calls for me once in a while.
Well, I don't think I could hold a candle to that which is Bill, but certainly I've learned a lot. I'll say that.
We know a friend of ours whose name is Ron, who could cold call God, and not think twice about it.
To Eskimos.
Yeah. Yes, exactly right. So we're going to talk about the market, and we just talked about the chaos. And just full disclosure, the markets are going to be chaotic, folks, for a while now, until this tariff thing gets some foundation. And even then, I will say this, we're not out of the woods by a long shot yet, because China is the 800 million pound gorilla in the room, and that's who Trump wants to bring to his knees. China is not Vietnam. China is not the Euro or Europe. China is their own behemoth beast, and they have a much longer term philosophy about what they want to do, and they'll wait you out. They'll be Muhammad Ali rope-a-dope kind of a country, rather than somebody who needs immediate gratification. And that's their culture. That's not just history. That's their culture. So that all being said, there's one other 900 million pound gorilla in the room that nobody's talking about right now, except subtly. And that is that one of the other things that Trump wanted to do, and again, I'm not here to play politics about it, but what Trump wanted to do was he wanted to reduce or make the current tax rates permanent. Not touch them, just make them permanent. Because Congress didn't do that last year. They just put them in a continuing resolution, and now they're expiring. And if they don't do anything, if you think the market is tanking now, you ain't seen nothing yet. Because it's my opinion, and strictly my opinion, that if that tax thing doesn't take place, everybody, I don't care if you're a $5 an hour worker or a billionaire, everybody gets hit. and they get hit hard. Taxes would go up 40% across the board. And the estate tax, again, like the estate tax, not like the estate tax is going to go down from $13.5 million for a single person, $27 for a couple, down to $6 million for a single person, and $12 or $13 million for a couple. That's a huge move on the estate tax front. And I want to add one other thing. Lots of those clients, including some of mine, have planned for that $27 million threshold. They did that several years ago. Fast forward to now, they planned for 27. If it's reduced by 13 or 14 million dollars, and now the rules have changed, they're much older, and they may not have the ability or the wherewithal or the capital to move assets around to protect their estate from the estate tax. So I don't know what your opinion is on that, Sean, but every bone in my body says if Congress doesn't, make these tax things permanent or push them down the road a little bit further, Johnny barred the door. That's my judgment or opinion. What do you think?
I agree, because as I call them, the steak and potato guys, and these are the people that'll send you a card to join them for dinner for their seminar where they're not going to sell you anything, but they really want to get involved because they want to help you. Mm-hmm. And of the 4 that I attended last year, all of them were saying the Trump tax cuts are going to end at the end of 2025. So they were advising customers to look into converting traditional IRAs to Roth IRAs. They were talking about if you do keep your money in a traditional IRA, that you're going to end up paying much more in taxes when you go to take the money out. And then, they were talking about the estate tax impacts and really pushing it. And so when Trump won the re-election, in the back of my head, I thought, well, what are these 4 people going to talk about this time? Mm-hmm. They could talk about market volatility caused by, aforementioned president, but
right.
Or they could talk about estate planning, but it was all a big discussion on taxes.
Yes.
Avoiding taxes, minimizing taxes, and all of my axes live in taxes. I mean, it was just like, it was a constant mantra the entire night, the whole thing. And I was like, hey, I wanted to talk about retirement planning or how do I secure an income for the rest of my life? And here these guys are like, you got to worry about taxes because your estate heirs are going to pay a lot in taxes. I'm like, well, so.
The one thing I'll give them their due at some level, but I don't approach things from the perspective of plan because taxes are always going to be around. You have to plan for you and your family. And the tax rate's going to be the tax rate. None of us are in control of that. Just the idiots in Washington and in the capital of the state you live in. And so understand that taxes go up, taxes go down. Taxes are going to be added for stuff that you didn't even see coming, the tax on the cable, the tax on the cell phone, the tax on your gas, blah, 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 blah. You're going to get taxed to death. So if you plan on the basis of taxes, to me, you're missing the boat. I've always said, how much do you need? How much do you want? What's your why? Is it freedom? Is it do what I want to do? Is it, what's your why? What's your why look like at retirement? The why isn't, I got to deal with taxes. That's the wrong answer in my judgment. So markets are chaos. Markets are going to be chaos for a while, and they've been chaotic for several years now. This is not just, this is an anomaly, but it's been coming. The other ones up and down, left and right, making your eyes water as to how do you gauge this? How do you figure this out? For my younger listeners, stay in the market. Don't freak out. You're buying cheap. For my older clients, you're going to have to circle the wagons because if you're within 10 or 15 years of retirement or closer, I talked to a client yesterday, Sean. He lost $300,000 in his portfolio in the last 3 days, and he's actually freaked out. He's like, I was hoping to retire at 65. I don't think I'm going to be able to do that now until 70.
Well, and that's and see, you hit on a couple of things. You were saying that to your younger colleagues or people that asked you that were younger, stay in the market, because the idea is that the market has always had ups and downs, but overall the market has generally improved as a whole.
Yes.
Right? It's an upward trending line. Okay. Now, when you get to the age of 55, and why I might be scared, is because I've got 10 years maybe between now and the day I retire that I need to have a certain number of dollars in the bank to support my future. And when you see a 15% hit to your investments, then you start, you don't have that long. I mean, 10 years is a long time, but in investment, if you're not investing in, the stocks where the guys are like, you got to buy this stock, it's insane, and they're throwing things around the studio and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, no. Those guys, they may get you one or two quick hits, and if you're lucky, maybe three, but eventually, if you keep chasing that next big story stock, you're going to take a beating.
Yep.
And if you're sitting there and, like you said, if you're investing for the long term, so maybe you've got some money at risk, and maybe you've got some other money that's in the stock market, but it's in, Philip Morris. They make cigarettes, right? But people buy those things pretty consistely.
Another
McDonald's,
staple.
You've nobody's ever gone broke investing in McDonald's because oh, it's unhealthy, it's all this, we can't wear our yoga pants and work out in the drive-through line, whatever, people. When it's 10 o'clock at night and you're hungry, you want a Big Mac, right? That's where you go to get it. And then there's other companies, like you mentioned, General Mills, Post Cereals, there's utility companies, there's General Motors, Ford. These companies have wherewithal. They're not a flash in the pan. They have large market valuations, but that's backed up by physical assets, not hoopty-doo.com, which has a market valuation of $10 trillion, because they have a really cool app that only works on TikTok.
Yeah, exactly right.
So you're absolutely astute. Now, for the old folks like myself, now we're starting to say, well, maybe we need to start getting out of some of those stocks and start buying into fixed income, or maybe we should have some more fixed income. Who knows? Maybe even an annuity.
Well, and that's great segue. We're going to go to break here, Sean. We're right at the bottom of the hour. That's a great segue because we're going to share with you the 4% rule and what it looks like in a static environment, what it looks like in a down market, and what it looks like if you add an annuity into your portfolio. So with that said, that's Sean Hauser. My name is Bill Miksch. I'm president of WDMA Financial Group in Grayslake, Illinois. This is Your Insurance Corner, and we'll be right back after these short messages.